So, I've been doing a little bit of research, watching a few things on Netflix and so forth. When I was a teenager back in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and I was in high school, all sorts of things were going on in America. It was during the time of the Vietnam War, the Vietnam War protests, Nixon. So I was watching a documentary about Kent State. The reason I'm doing that is because of what the felon has said about protests, that he's going to start arresting people and not giving money to colleges and so forth. Anyway, Kent State, they had protested. Some of them were rioting for about 4 days before the National Guard came in. They literally set up pup tents, fucking army tents on the campus. They had tanks. They kneeled. They pointed their guns at the protesters. And at this time, it was peaceful. It was not a violent protest. Now, the Kent State people, somebody did throw rocks and bricks, bottles, at the National Guard people. That did actually happen. They did somebody burnt down the ROTC building. That happened. Some of the businesses in downtown Kent, Ohio, were destroyed. That's not my point. My point is the National Guard kneeled in a firing stance and killed 4 people. They killed them. They shot them and killed them. They also injured multiple people. One guy is permanently disabled, unable to walk. They massacred students for protesting. Okay, that's one thing. And it only angered the protesters more because they were setting up a military camp on the campus. This was a governor that apparently called the National Guard more than any other governor. He obviously Republican, obviously. Okay, then I watched the Netflix drama about Chicago 7, the Chicago 7, which I highly recommend. I've watched it before, but I wanted to watch it again. It was determined by Ramsey Clark, who was then the DOJ under Johnson, that the riots that happened during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago in 1968 were started by the police. That's what everybody had been saying, and that's what they determined. Then, when the new administration came in, Mr. fucking criminal Nixon and goddamn Mitchell, the fucking criminal, when they came in, they decided to prosecute the Chicago 7. It was the Chicago 8. Bobby Seale was a Black Panther. He was literally gagged and bound to his chair in the courtroom. The only man of color in this whole thing. Bound and gagged. The judge was a horrifying piece of shit. They were convicted. Then it was thrown out, and the prosecutors decided not to retry it because it was such a farce. This is what's going to happen in America, I think. We're going to have protests, and they're going to get violent, and we're going to have cops unaliving young people. We're going to have lies that the cops didn't start it. We're going to have lies about who started it. We're going to have outside instigators. This is what's going to happen. I encourage everybody to look into this information about what happened during the Vietnam War protests. There was some bad actors. I'm not saying there wasn't. But they shouldn't have been killed. They shouldn't have been tried. The Chicago 7 should never have been tried. Nobody should have been killed. I encourage you all to watch that Chicago 7 movie on Netflix. It's extraordinarily sad. And it's what's happening now. Have a good day.